Hello. Today we are going to talk about the big picture, including a giant list of all of the illegal, immoral, unconstitutional things that this administration has done since coming into office. So I will let Susan lead the way on that. Go ahead.
Sometimes it helps just to have a bird's eye view, right? An overall view gives you a better picture of what's happening. Because we hear about things one at a time, and sometimes you're like, oh wait, wasn't there something else I don't even remember anymore? So sometimes it's nice to have that big picture. But before we start getting into the list, I kind of wanted to talk about how this is not just about President Trump.
Right.
Right. I mean, a lot of people say, well, you just don't like what's going on because you don't like President Trump. But I guess in some ways I think we're a little bit unique that way, in that we didn't used to pay any attention to politics.
Right.
Neither one of us. And so I didn't really know much about President Trump at all. So I just came into this starting to wonder about certain things, if they were legal or not. I didn't have any animus against him, in specific. I mean, I knew about J6, but I honestly really hardly paid attention. And so this is bigger. There's a bigger movement, right? There's a bigger movement of people that want to concentrate power into the executive branch, and then be able to bypass our normal constitutional checks and balances to be able to do what they want. I mean, I can understand people getting frustrated because for a while now, the government really hasn't been working for us, for the people. Our Congress members have been always pointing the finger at the other party.
Yeah.
Not really saying what they're doing, right? They're not explaining how government works. They're not explaining what they're doing. They were just blaming the other party for everything that went wrong. They're still doing it. They're still doing it right now. It's the Republicans shut down. It's the Democrats shut down. No, it's not. It's both of you, Really, honestly. I mean, sure, the Republicans should come to the table and negotiate.
Right.
But still.
Which is normally what happens.
Yeah, that is normally what happens. So but yeah, I understand people being frustrated, feeling like we can't get anywhere. Because I remember months ago reading a report of people who grade democracies, and they were saying that ours was already degrading before President Trump ever got into office, and that legislation that was enacted had almost nothing to do with what people wanted.
Right. And, doing discussions and some of the debates that I get myself involved in online, oftentimes I'm accused of, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, when, in the beginning, I didn't know who he was. I didn't hate him. I gave him some chances, and several chances. I usually reserved my judgment on any individual over time, just to kind of dig in and see what the character of that person is about.
Right.
I don't just immediately judge based on one mistake or based on one thing that's spoken here or there. But, I usually don't hate anybody. I usually have dislike over an individual based on very specific reasons. And there are a lot of egregious reasons why I now dislike Trump. And he earned it.
But he's only part of a big
He's not a likable person.
Right.
And so he earned that from many people.
Yeah.
Who are moderate left-leaning ideology thinkers. And so that was earned.
Yeah.
And I think TDS is claimed when there are people out there that don't want to examine the facts. They don't want to take the time to set aside their own judgment and just look at, what does this executive order say? And then what does it say that's against the Constitution? And when you put them together, you put those two things together, you're like, this is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
It's in black and white.
Yeah.
Or this is illegal. This is the law. This is the legislation.
Right.
And this is the wording from the executive order. I mean, it really isn't even have anything to do with any emotion that I have against any specific person.
Other than we'd rather adhere to the constitutional model of government that we have.
Right.
We don't want to go away from that.
Right. And you're right. There's this historic evidence that goes back several administrations on the Republican side, on the right-leaning side, on Christian nationalist side, that has led to him being in office.
Yeah. And my husband is way more conservative than me,
Yeah.
and he's a history buff.
Yeah.
So we have some very good conversations
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
And he is pointing out that it's not just on the right side; it's on the left side too.
Yeah.
Where they've leveraged some of the power a little too much, right? Against like businesses not being able to get things done, right? Just because it's so onerous. Some of the things are so onerous. That type of thing.
Yeah.
But really, the whole thing is driven by those who have a lot of money
Mhm.
and who are trying to engineer things the way they want them, not the way the people in general would like them.
Right.
It's money. It comes back to money, and it comes back to power.
Right.
And like, why should we go through the tedious, messy democratic process if we can just leverage our way into being able to ignore the Constitution, keep all that power in the executive branch, and do whatever we want? And that's what we're seeing, is a long-term movement of people who got together and decided to try to move us to that.
Yeah.
All the power to the executive,
Yeah.
no checks and balances, so we can make sure we get what we want. But that's a problem,
Yeah.
because it's like, do we really want to give up our constitutional form of government with the checks and balances? There were very good reasons for us to have those checks and balances.
Right, because it ensured that all the people would suffer the minimal amount of harm.
Yeah.
When currently there are segments of large populations of people who are currently being physically, emotionally, and mentally harmed severely by the actions that are happening in this administration.
Right. And even if
With the government shutdown, SNAP, WIC, all of those benefits that so many families rely upon are going away as of next week.
Yeah.
People are going to go hungry. How is that okay?
Yeah, we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
But so
And that's just one instance.
so it all comes down to people who want money and power.
Yep.
And so we as an American people, I think the one good thing that this administration has done for all of us is wake us up.
Yeah.
We were complacent for too long.
Yeah.
I was complacent
Yeah.
for almost all my life until now.
Yeah.
And so we have that responsibility to make sure we get good people in office and we hold them accountable
Yeah.
to what we the people want, not what their favorite donor wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's our caveat at the beginning. But now
Right,
we'll get
so-
into the list. But it's important to know what's going on because
Yeah.
it's hard to keep track. Right, so that's
Yep.
why we made a list, and there are other people
Yes,
doing
it's-
similar things.
Susan did such a great job on compiling this list. It's a lot of the egregious actions by this current administration. She updates it regularly. We'd also ask for your help if you see that there's some things missing from our list. If you think of something to add to it, if you have a source to contribute, we definitely need evidence, facts, and sources in order to add it to the list. Just contact us.
Yeah.
So when we look at, in the beginning, Susan listed what is against the law or likely against the law.
Right,
So
'cause
she
we're
categorized
we're
them.
not lawyers, but
Right.
our best determination, okay, this is probably
Right,
against the
right,
law.
right. When you look at the legislation, the law that was passed, and then you look at the action that was taken
Right.
that contradicts the law that was passed. We're not attorneys. We don't claim to. I mean, I have paralegal background, 15 years of paralegal background experience. So, I have some insight into, what could be or may not be against the law or would be against the law. So,
But us regular people have to make somewhat of a determination for ourselves. We can't only rely on, one particular person or one particular
Right,
viewpoint. We got to
right.
figure it out. So yeah, the first thing that we notice to have is impoundment of funds. We know $425 billion at least has been impounded
yeah,
and is also being investigated by the GAO.
right.
Trying to force states, universities, into complying with the executive orders by illegally withholding federal funds. That's not legal.
Yeah. And I know there's been judges rule against it, and,
Yep.
and the administration is like, try to stop us.
Mm-hmm. Well, so
Yeah,
what I can
and
hear,
I
they
see- and
are
I see.
complying mostly,
Yeah.
but
But they're trying to find workarounds and ways that they
slowing
they
things up.
they can
and-
use the wording of a court order and work around the wording of a court order. For example, like, if we can't deploy the National Guard within Oregon, then we'll send the California National Guard. Well, if we
Yeah.
can't deploy them, well, then we'll send the
Some from
Texas
Yeah,
National Guard.
Exactly.
And the judge was just like,
This does not
this
work. Yes.
this is not
Judges are
the
getting,
heart of my order.
Yeah, exactly.
The heart of my order needs to be followed. So she went back and said, you may not deploy any National Guard to Oregon.
Exactly.
Period.
So
Yeah, I
you
mean, that's
can't
just one example.
Yeah. And then moving almost $1 billion around from the missile program to use to fix up the plane from Qatar. Getting the plane in the first place was...
Well, yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the grifting section that you added.
Yes.
Against the judicial system, ignoring the orders of federal judges, using obfuscation, delay tactics in court.
And there's at least 35 judges now. Somebody did an analysis where they've said the government is giving us untrue information.
Mm-hmm.
The government is presenting it in, an extremely illegal way or something. They're basically, the judges come right out and said, this is not up to standard. This is not according to the law. In at least 35 out of the 400 plus legal cases that have been filed against this administration.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was Judge Emmergott that said that the
untethered from
the
reality.
facts of this case show there's no violent protesting, no violence that would warrant anything like this. That would warrant troops to be deployed.
Yeah.
And what was presented by the administration is untethered to the reality and untethered to the facts. That was what was written by I think it was Judge Emmergott.
Yeah. And then using abusive and threatening language against judges. That's bad.
That's
to
unheard
have
of.
our president and
words
the
matter.
cabinet members abusing judges when it's only whenever they don't rule the way the executive branch wants, right? If they rule for them, then they're all great, hunky-dory and doing fine. But if they rule against them, then they're basically calling them, activists. They're telling them they did the wrong thing. They're saying they should be impeached.
Left lunatic judges. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You shouldn't be doing that.
No.
And the Epstein files.
Yeah, cover up,
Oh
delay,
my gosh.
legally required and promised release of the Epstein files.
Yeah, they're supposed to be releasing them right now because that one subcommittee subpoenaed them, but they've only released stuff that was almost all already out,
available. Yeah.
and they're not releasing any more. So that's why that discharge petition that they're waiting for the 218th signature on, but it's just ridiculous that this is supposed to be legally released right now, and everybody wants them released. All of the people.
Yeah, now there's a lawsuit by the Arizona Attorney General to get the newly elected Arizona rep sworn in. So
because it's been 4 weeks and she still hasn't
she's been
sworn
certified,
in. And the
elected.
excuses are wearing thin.
I know, because there's been two Republican newly elected reps that
got sworn in when Congress wasn't even in session.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, that's just another example.
Yeah,
and that is, I believe, part of the release of the Epstein files. Mike Johnson he doesn't want to release them.
Yep.
Makes me wonder if he's in them.
Yeah. And then against oversight, there's so much that's been done against oversight because I didn't know about much of it at all before, but I found out since then there's so much that's been put in place to try to oversee government and make sure our money is spent correctly, that people are doing it properly, that nobody's doing any grifting or anything. So there's so many structures that help provide oversight. of our government. And they've been attacked
Yes,
by
they have.
this administration
Yeah.
severely. So inspector generals, important part of oversight. They're
Mhm.
independent from the agencies that they're posted at, and they're supposed to oversee all of that, right?
Right.
So 19 of them now have been fired by President Trump. He just did another one. And it was illegal because he was supposed to give at least 30 days notice and give a reason that they needed to be fired, and he didn't do that.
Right.
Not this time around. And so they're gone. Stripping power from and defunding all the federal regulatory agencies. There were tons of them that did federal agency ethics sections.
Yeah.
He's gutted them too. If you fire all the people in the section and then replace them only a few of them with your loyalists, then nobody's there watching, what you're doing
Right.
with the money and making sure you're doing anything legally.
Right.
And so it's just been gutted. It's bad if you look into it. Any parts of any agencies that went after fraud, waste, and abuse, gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's functionally not there anymore in
Right.
any federal agency.
Right. And something new that just happened is they gutted the CDC.
Yeah. Exactly. The Centers
It's like,
for
how are
Disease
we going
Control.
to, how, yeah, Centers
Well,
for
that's
Disease-
in another section.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. And then against federal employees.
Yes. Mass firing.
I mean, they're
without
hurting
cause.
right now.
And part of being a federal employee is the security of not being in like the public domain of, you're working at will and you can be let go for any or no reason
Right.
at any time with no notice, right? Part of work, because I worked in the federal government in the 90s. I was working in Texas for the Department of Defense, and my husband was active duty Air Force, and I had a cushy job. I mean,
You did the work.
I did the work, of
But
course.
you had some protections.
But the protections
Yeah.
of having a stable job without being at will, that is one of the perks of working for the government. You're not an at will employee. And so many people misunderstand that. Well, it should be just like, at will. I mean, if you don't do the job, you don't get a stay. And it's just like, how do people know they're not doing the job? A lot of people doing their jobs, IRS, oversight, just all of these government offices that are getting gutted, and people in those jobs, it's not legal. It's not legal. It's
No.
not at will.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how working for the government is
Well,
not at
and
will.
a lot of people think that the government was way too bloated, and in some ways it probably was. But it's interesting to note that there are actually way less government employees per population
Mm-hmm.
than there was even like 40 years ago or
Yeah.
something. Now, part of that's computers, right?
Yeah.
Because we can do more with less people, but still. And then firing government employees for delivering news the president didn't approve of, right?
Right. The
He's
jobs
done that.
report.
Yeah, firing government employees who were assigned to work on past cases against him. That was
Right.
their job. They
Yeah.
got told to investigate this, and now they're getting fired for it.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's the whole corruption of the Department of Justice. It's bad.
It's openly just out there, and people don't believe it's corrupt because it's so open
Well, they think
and out there
they
that
think it was previously weaponized, but there is nothing that's gone on before that's like now. Over 280 former Justice Department employees have written that open letter basically saying, alarm bells, we could not any longer do our jobs the way we're legally supposed to. We were told to do things against the law. We were told you have to do things this way, basically. So they're really trying to make sure people understand that.
yeah.
We've had retaliatory investigations against people that the president doesn't like. He's making no secret of it.
Right.
It's not a secret. He's firing government lawyers for refusing to do illegal or questionably ethical things. He's directing immigration judges on how they are to decide their cases. The Department
Yeah.
of Justice is telling them, vacate the case, so we can pick them up. ICE can pick them up.
Yeah.
He ordered the Department of Justice to try to secure the release of someone convicted on state charges, even. So he's encroaching on the state's rights again there. There's just so much if you start looking into it.
Yeah. So what was that Tina Peters? Why does he want her to be released? Is she a loyalist?
She was an election denier.
Election denier. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, action against federal agencies. Dismantling federal agencies without congressional approval.
That's crazy.
You're not supposed to do that. It was Congress that had the mandate to create that agency. Congress can only take it apart.
Right.
And even if they don't technically close it down, if they're just saying, oh, we're just stripping it down to the studs, basically. But the judge was pointing out that in one of the cases, I think it was for USAID, they were like, if you fire almost all of the people and you withdraw almost all of the funding such that the agency can no longer perform its function, you have dismantled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then attempting to fire members of the Federal Reserve Board, just because he wants them to drop interest rates.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it'd be nice to have less interest on our national debt, but should we go back to manipulating that just because of politics? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
The interest rate is adjusted and changed based on inflation, and is to help. Usually when interest rates are increased, or decreased, it's to help to stabilize inflation. Yeah. It's just one aspect of it.
Yeah. Then there's also the harassing and extorting law firms. Right?
Yeah. So this is that category you said that's against the whole legal system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Threatening to remove their security clearances,
or
canceling government's contracts with law firms, forbidding certain law firms from entering federal buildings unless they agree to XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
That's already been ruled as illegal, blatantly illegal. Yeah. It went to court.
Yeah, that one didn't hold up.
No, not at all.
So,
and there's so much against free and fair elections. Oh, the gerrymandering, the blatant gerrymandering, and the president is the one calling for it.
Yeah, and then you see these people complaining about California's gerrymandering for Democrats, and it's like, what's good for the goose is
going to do it if Texas does it,
and so that's why it's been put on the ballot, because Texas has done it,
right?
And it's just what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Well,
it levels the playing field. That's what it's doing.
And even if Democrats were gerrymandering first, nobody should be gerrymandering.
Yeah,
we want free and fair elections. Let's stop the stupid gerrymandering already.
Right? Yeah,
it's like, if you don't think that, President Trump wants to become a king, then why is he calling for gerrymandering to ensure that only he can stay in power? It's just not right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then attempting to rewrite election rules to make it harder for people to vote, and to try to get control of election systems from the states. States are supposed to have control of the elections, not the federal government.
Yep, exactly.
They've been threatening election officials. They've been filing court cases against election officials. They've been writing laws to, or like friend of the court briefs and stuff, in order to, I'm trying to remember. Of things that, not wanting to protect voters anymore and making it easier to throw voters off the rolls, right? To purge voter rolls. All of that is undermining and trying to get everyone's voter roll information from the states.
Yeah,
to
which
make
has
one
been blocked.
Giant
it's been blocked in several states.
Database of it. It's not good.
But the fact that they're trying, and they keep trying to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So then there's grifting and bribery. This is like the part that bothers me a lot. Openly soliciting money and gifts and personally profiting off of the office of the president.
Forbes magazine just did an analysis of how much President Trump's personal wealth has grown since he came into office in January. $3.5 billion.
Yeah, because the last number I saw was $2 billion. Yeah,
no,
last number I saw was $2 billion. Now it's $3.5.
And I've seen 4 as well, but somewhere around $3.5 billion. What, in less than a year?
Yeah,
it's crazy. And it wasn't just drawn out of a hat. They had a whole list of everything and what money came from what.
And now he's trying to get the Department of Justice to pay him $240. Is it million or billion?
$230 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
because of his legal fees.
No, it wasn't even for legal fees.
Wasn't
it was
it?
just for damages.
For damages from
because he got investigated.
Yeah,
Like,
from when
no,
he got
you didn't-
investigated.
No,
Crazy. Yeah.
because some of the people that would be in charge of approving that were his personal lawyers in the past.
I know, right?
So it's like that's a lot of that's what do you call it? Conflict of interest right there.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, just even little things like selling his merchandise while he's on a military base,
No.
while he's there speaking.
Military members are supposed to be nonpartisan. It's supposed to be
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
supposed to happen at all.
and screening people who were behind him, who attended the event,
Yeah.
to make sure that they
We're
you
be
know,
enthusiastic
they weren't rolling,
enough.
they wouldn't roll their eyes,
Yeah.
or you know,
and weren't fat. He didn't want
Right,
fat ones.
right, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, making negotiations with foreign nations to personally profit from the family businesses and stuff. Accepting the plane from Qatar.
Yeah,
And now Qatar gets to train in Idaho.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, gee. Yeah.
And then blowing up 2 small boats,
Actually,
and I
9
think it's
now.
9 now. Yeah,
9 now.
yeah. This
Yeah.
gets to be updated.
Yeah,
Killing,
a whole bunch of Venezuelans
many-
and some Colombians now.
yeah,
Yeah, and then the 2 that were still alive from the last one, they just sent them right back to their countries.
yeah.
They didn't
and the
even
defense,
try to like bring them to court or anything for this both the drug charges.
yeah, the defense is, well, they were drug boats. Nobody knows that. They don't know
No,
that.
because they haven't even briefed Congress on
Trump,
why
Trump
they're on
just
evidence.
thinks that whatever he thinks is truth.
Well, and
Well,
the
I've
whole
I've seen
administration.
those people. I've seen those people. They were drug dealers. Okay, just because
Yeah.
you've seen them, it's just this whole
And
narcissistic.
they're supposed to be keeping Congress up to date on stuff like that,
Mhm.
and they're not.
Right.
They're not telling them anything, and Congress is trying to find out. And then the whole thing that they released just recently with a picture of the supposed drug boat,
Mhm.
and then it turned out it was from something totally unrelated.
It was from
Spain.
some
It
like
was from
2020
Spain.
Chile or Spain
It
or
was
Spanish
Spain. Yeah,
drug boat.
yeah. It wasn't
Trying to
even
say
that.
that
It's like, that does not make people believe you if you post fake pictures. I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
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 So then against immigrants,
yeah, there's
the
a
next section, yeah. Trying to revoke birthright citizenship, which is a constitutional
lot.
amendment.
Yep.
Sending ICE and FBI and all of them out to do immigration raids while agents are masked, unidentified, and do not have warrants.
Yeah.
Warrants are required. Not administrative
If-
warrants, but judicial warrants.
If you're going to go in someplace, but yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, if someone's out in public,
Yeah.
there's a different set of circumstances that they
Mhm.
can detain someone.
and I
But like
know
the
right
Chicago
now
raid
you
on
can
the
do-
apartment, they entered. They
Yeah.
entered the building. They
Yeah.
entered apartments. They
and I'd like to
broke
know,
down walls and doors
did
and dragged
they
people
have
out of their beds.
warrants for all of those
The
apartments?
ACLU has so far said that they have not produced any warrant that they had to be
Mhm.
able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like if you can do that without a warrant, then there's nothing to stop them from doing it to anyone. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. Sending immigrants to third countries, putting them
Yeah.
in prisons without just the accusation that they've done something wrong. No
right,
proof.
like they're part of Tren de Aragua,
no proof.
which just because Trump signed an executive order saying Tren de Aragua is a terrorist group doesn't make them a terrorist group.
Well,
And it doesn't make them
even if they
liable
are,
to be illegal, because being a part of a gang is not illegal, although it's
Yeah.
not a good idea. And then
No.
oftentimes members of gangs do illegal acts. They do break the law,
right.
but that's on an individual basis to be determined in a court of law if someone broke the law.
Yeah.
And being part of a gang may raise your chances of having broken the law,
Right.
but that doesn't mean, it's just causality. It doesn't mean that everyone in Tren de Aragua is illegally breaking the law. I mean, you have to be able to charge someone with a specific crime
Yeah.
to be
that's
able
true.
to send them to prison. You have to be able to
So even if they were
charge
gang
them,
members, it doesn't
mean
oh, we can just
that
send
they
them
can
to
just be
prison.
sent to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. In El Salvador, that's an old issue, but that's still so prevalent in my mind.
Well, and to a whole bunch of other countries that are dangerous and
Mhm.
problematic too.
But El Salvador was the first time they did that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, well, they're just deporting people. They're just deporting.
And then there's detaining and sometimes even deporting lawful immigrants and U.S. citizens.
Right.
So,
right. I just think that it's crazy. It's not deportation. It's illegal
putting
imprisonment.
People in prisons. Yeah.
In order to go to prison, only judges and juries can send a person to prison after there's been a case in front of a judge, which is what due process is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only time. Trump, Holman, Miller, nobody has the authority to send anyone directly to prison except judges and juries.
Yeah.
Period.
And we'd like to keep it that way.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just kind of a mess. And then there's against data privacy.
Yeah,
breaking
data
a
privacy,
lot
yes.
of data privacy laws, sharing our citizens' private data in between government agencies, allowing unvetted civilian workers unsupervised access to our data. Just a lot of
and having that data uploaded into a cloud server that's not
secure,
doesn't have the level of data protection required.
Right. And the how they're going to start surveilling U.S. citizens quite a bit, more than has been done in the past. So that's a lot to worry about.
Yeah.
And then the propaganda, releasing information about the government and how it works that's factually untrue.
Yeah.
If you look it up, it's like, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true that district judges don't have the power to actually look at a government's actions. If they do, they certainly do that.
One of the first things when a case is brought to a court, one of the first things that's looked at is this the proper jurisdiction?
Yeah.
And a case will not be seen. It will be dismissed or referred to another jurisdiction if it does not fall in that court's jurisdiction.
Right.
Period. Paralegal here, that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so some of the things that our own government is saying right now are not factually true. And anyone, even a cursory search of legal procedure will figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Releasing statistics and information on individuals that's factually untrue.
Yeah.
Releasing information about the powers of judges, about nationwide injunctions, just lots of untrue stuff. And it's so frustrating because you should be able to trust what your government says.
Right. At least most of it.
Yeah, exactly. At least most of it. Yeah. Then we get into our section of the list of probably not illegal, but it seems like a really bad idea.
Harmful, immoral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like nationalization, the federal government taking partial control of private businesses.
There's like at least 8 different businesses now that the government owns
and public.
Part of.
They own public shares, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Intel.
Yeah, exactly. There's tons of them. Nippon Steel, NVIDIA, I can't remember all of them right now. But yeah, just if people are worried about socialism, they should be worried about this, because the government...
Yeah, because that's what the CCP does in China.
Yeah, yeah.
If the business becomes big enough, the CCP gets their hands in the money.
Yeah. Exactly. And
the communist,
and
Party
this way,
of China.
it's not good for capitalism because it's the government picking the winners,
right?
Because of course they're going to do things that's going to help their stake in that particular business. So we already see that. You
have like with Nippon Steel's takeover, 1.5 trillion promised investment from trading partners that Trump claims the right to direct personally.
Yep.
15% of certain chip sales of NVIDIA and advanced micro devices to China will go to the administration. Trump demands that the head of Intel resign, takes 10% government ownership of Intel in return for grant money. This is exactly what the CCP does in China.
Yeah, exactly. And
that is dictatorial government.
Yeah, it is.
That is communism.
Yeah. And then there's all the reducing of oversight, replacing federal employees in oversight and ethics positions with their loyalists. I've seen tons of detailed write-ups about exactly how that worked. That's what Doge was about.
Yeah.
It wasn't about fraud, waste, and abuse.
They found nothing.
Saving any money.
They found nothing.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Everything they put up on their site, they ended up having to take down or retract.
When you analyze it, they didn't save any money.
I know. There was a lot of waste.
Crazy.
There was a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in using Doge to try to find waste, fraud, and abuse by just using Doge and having to pay them.
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, and so they did two things. They wanted to fire all the heads of all the different agencies, put loyalists in their place.
Yeah.
And so no one could stop them. Because
Right.
I've seen people talk to me and they're like, well, how could the government be like impounding funds? And wouldn't somebody stop them in the government? Well, no, not anymore. Because now there's just loyalists left
Yeah.
in the key positions. And so that's why they're able to do it. And the second reason for Doge was to get all our information.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. And then against federal employees, they're just removing those worker protections and the right to unionize.
Yeah.
Those have been removed from federal employees. Against consumer protection, loosening regulations on business, weakening consumer protections, taking away the anti-pollution, regulations.
So was that EPA?
I don't want to go back to the Love Canal days.
Yeah.
Superfund sites. I remember that
Yeah.
when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back to that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So then, against the environment, ordering the destruction of climate monitoring satellites,
That's kind of dumb. Like
seeking to
it's
sell
there.
public lands.
Yeah, that's a lot of people were upset about that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they've just
Especially
opened
here
up.
in Utah.
They just opened up the Alaska wildlife something or other to
Mhm.
oil drilling too.
Mhm.
Yeah, no. Against science and medicine. It's
Yeah.
awful. Weakening science and medical research, firing tons of our best researchers and scientists,
Yeah.
unmooring federal medical agencies from best practices and scientific rigor.
Yeah, like taking away the scientific method.
Yeah.
That's what we base so much of our society on, is the scientific method.
Yeah, and just coming up with reports from actual government agencies that had like fake studies in them that weren't even real.
Right.
And you
and
could tell somebody wrote it with AI.
The sources that were provided by JFK, the sources were not relevant. In fact, the authors and the researchers that were sourced came out and said,
we didn't write this.
This isn't a report of mine. This isn't.
Yeah.
There's nothing that exists with my name on it.
Yeah.
About this kind of research.
It does not
it's just
give me confidence in their results.
Right.
Yeah. Just
And
so,
Caroline Levitt coming out and saying, "Oh well, just minus a few of those typos that ended up being. It's not typos.
yeah, coming up.
They
with
were false
fake
sources
reports
and evidence.
that didn't even exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Lying and repeating untruths, like with the fake boat picture, and just
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's bad.
So then the next section, against public safety, law and order.
Pardoning all of the 1500 July 6th people.
Yeah.
Yep, allowing ICE and federal law agents to conduct raids without proper identification and with masks. I think that's an insult against our police,
Yeah.
our judges, our prosecutors, our military.
Yeah. There's
All
some
of
states
them-
that are putting legislation into place requiring
Identification.
body cams.
And identification. That they have to identify who they are.
Right.
But I still think it's an insult because all of those people, our police, our judges, our prosecutors, our military, they all have to face,
the same
dangerous individuals
if not more.
all the time, and they don't get to be masked. They
Right.
don't get to hide their identity.
And they require to wear body cams.
and
it's to protect them. I mean,
them
that,
and the public.
ICE and Department of Homeland Security, all of them are just so concerned about their ICE agents being in danger. Well, if they wore body cams, it would protect the ICE agents even more.
Yeah.
If the ICE agents were complying with their policies and laws and regulations on how they're supposed to arrest.
But the problem is,
And detain.
I think you have to err on the side of public safety, because sometimes individuals who are in a position of power like that will break the law,
Yes.
like we've seen with police, right?
Yes.
And sure, there's oversight committees and stuff that are supposed to deal with that, but if no one knows who did it, and they don't
Right.
even know for sure what agency they're from,
Right.
how
Right.
can you properly report it to the proper oversight agency? Like there was the case of that family that had just bought their house in New Hampshire,
Mhm.
and ICE, well, and there were several federal agencies involved. They broke into the house. They had a warrant for people who had lived in the house previously.
Mhm. Yes.
But even when the family showed them their IDs and said, we just bought this house, it's not us, they still made them stand outside in their pajamas, searched the house, took all their electronics, took their documents, and took their cash.
Mm-hmm.
They had a bunch of cash in the house because they just moved.
Yeah.
And they would not tell the family who to contact to get their stuff back.
And so they've never gotten their stuff returned.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing we need identification for. Why
Yeah.
you can't just have, federal agents going around with masks and no identification. Because who's gonna report that? Who's gonna take care of it?
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
So you have to err on the side of public safety.
Yeah.
And then foreign relations,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Harassing and threatening our allies.
criticizing other leaders and countries publicly,
Mm-hmm.
threatening to take over other countries or parts of countries,
Yeah. Like Canada, Greenland, Gaza, Panama. Yeah.
reneging on promised aid to Ukraine and
Yeah.
other countries, removing the United States from all kinds of international groups.
Cutting funding of overseas aid programs that has led to avoidable deaths.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
impoundment of already allocated funds was illegal in the first place.
Right, bombing Iran without any input from Congress, blowing up the boats without letting Congress know what's going on or what the justification is.
Right. On
saying
again.
they're going to invade
Yeah.
Venezuela by land.
I
now.
know.
And,
Right.
and President Trump just said, well, we might let Congress know, but I don't see why they'd object.
Right.
Like, that's not okay.
Yeah. And then the on again, off again, punishing tariffs,
Yeah.
tariff policies. And that's where Trump gets the taco. Trump always chickens out because he'll say there's a tariff. And then he, just before it goes into place on the date scheduled, he withdraws it.
Well, and then some of the billionaire friends make a lot of money off that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they know,
And
seem
it's
to know what's going to happen. There's investment groups that are pointing out that all these suspicious, all of a sudden right before the announcement, somebody like sells a bunch or buys a bunch or something and makes tons of money off of it. So yeah, that's not good. And then even just also attempting to influence foreign nations' internal justice affairs with like threatening tariffs.
like
with
in Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Withdrawing from a UN review of its human rights record.
Yep.
Under the Universal Periodic Review, all 193 UN member states are required to present their human rights record for peer review every 4.5 years.
And they just said, nope, we're not doing
We're
that.
not doing that anymore.
Yeah, and then inviting Vladimir Putin here to American soil as an honored guest. I don't think that was a great idea.
It was disgusting to see Trump at the end of a red carpet clapping
Yeah.
for Putin coming off the plane. Did he do that for Zelensky, our ally? No.
No, yeah. And then against citizen freedoms and states' rights, sending the National Guard troops and active duty military to cities that didn't
Did not
want them.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Against the free press.
Restricting
All the
press
stuff with
access
press
of the
access.
organizations. Yeah.
The Pentagon to the White House, defunding and dismantling the CPB, cutting off funding to NPR and PBS, shutting down Voice of America and related affiliates, requiring CBS to appoint a government ombudsman to review its content as a condition of approving its merger.
Mm-hmm.
Just all this stuff to try to, the CDC kind of coming out and telling press media companies, oh, guess what? You can do what we want, or we can do it the hard way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
First Amendment rights.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
Yeah, and then more things that could interfere with free and fair elections.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping Department of Justice cases on voter purging. Supporting a looser standard for purging of voters. Dropping cybersecurity support for the states for elections. They're not going to do that anymore.
Right.
They said, nope, sorry. Cutting funding for elections infrastructure information sharing and analysis center, seeking greater federal control over the elections, filing lawsuits against the states over voter registration record maintenance, demanding access to all the state voter rolls and personal information, seeking to inspect state voting machines, filing lawsuits to gain access to our personal information, seeking to bring criminal charges against state election officials over pretty spurious things. So it's a problem. Yeah. And then we get into civil rights. So, dropping,
Yeah.
civil rights, yeah.
So actions that reduce our civil rights, everybody's civil rights.
Dropping DOJ investigations related to voting rights, racial discrimination in hiring and civil actions against anti-abortion activists, ending investigations into 8 different police departments and rescinding findings of misconduct, dropping voting rights cases aimed at combating racial discrimination, backing away from pay discrimination lawsuits, terminating environmental justice settlements, shifting focus toward voter fraud investigations rather than protecting voter access, opposing transgender protections, passing an executive order requiring forced relocation of homeless individuals.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
They haven't done that quite yet, but it's not happy. So it's just.
I saw an instance where I think it was in California that they had ICE rounding up homeless people, throwing away their tents and garbage. Just
Washington D.C.
Was that Washington D.C.? Yeah.
DC.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, the big picture, it's not good, right?
Yeah.
I don't care who's doing it.
That's our list.
It could be anyone, and it would be bad. So that's our big list.
Yeah, that's our big list. So is there something that we missed or anything else that you would like us to cover in a future episode? Let us know.
Yep. Check out our Facebook and our Blue Sky to keep informed
and get updates. Go to our Substack to get more detailed information on what we talk about in our videos and to see our publications, including the giant list that we just went over.
Yeah, exactly. Press the like button and hit subscribe to help get the word out.
And welcome to the conversation.